Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be back with a continuation of my previous video, in which I took about an hour to fully cover GMOD 9 fan and ClassicGMVideos in one sitting. Two Garry's Mod creators who seem to have amassed a large following by distributing unique and creepy videos on YouTube with the old 2000 style we're probably all familiar with. Unlike this video by Pyrocynical, I've had it in my books for a while now to make a sequel. Before we get into this video, I want to let you all know a friend of mine, Richter Overtime, recently has discussed the same thing on his channel. Currently, he has two videos up that go into the topic of the ARG, one about BadwaterVideos 2009 and Gunslingerpro 2009, both subjects I'll be diving into. If you're still interested in this topic after the video, I suggest you check his series out if you want a shorter recap. I'll also be linking all channels in the description if you want to do your own personal research. I also suggest watching my first GMOD ARG video on the channel if you're new to the topic I'm covering, as I go into more detail there about what an ARG actually is. So, with all that out of the way, let's discuss what we're looking into. Gunslinger Pro 2009 is a channel first created in the year of 2017 on June 13th. Overall, the videos have garnered thousands of views in about the span of 4 years, with the channel currently sitting at 29.4k subscribers. By the looks of it, we have 6 videos to cover in total, and maybe more if newer content is released. We can also pick up this is a very TF2 sided channel, with the name being a reference to a Team Fortress 2 item called the Gunslinger. His profile picture also being that of an engineer, the resolution seems to create black bars on the side, probably because it's a portrait photo. One of the things I noticed right away is the number 2009. Given the context of the name, it's likely a username meant to give the impression it was created around the time of the Gunslinger release, as no other context seems to fit that number. What's even more interesting is that the Gunslinger did not come to Team Fortress in 2009, it came in 2010, on July 8th. Whether it's just a random number, or meant to symbolize his username, I find it weird to see such a mistake. It could also be that this channel originally opened in 2009, and similar to GMOD 9 fan and ClassicGMVideos, they're all re-uploads, but I do have my doubts about this theory. Moving on, the first video we see on this channel is labeled Sniper is Book, uploaded June 13th, 2017. The description reading, Sniper is Book. The clip is relatively short, so I'll play it here.
Sniper is Book! Read me!
The concept here is relatively simple and follows the old school YouTube format of mashing voice lines together to create a sentence and wrapping everything into an animation. Right off the bat, you may have noticed how destabilized the video is of consistent jittering. I'm not sure what this effect is, but it could be from partial damage, possibly file corruption. After a brief moment of silence, the heavy shown here becomes opaque and transparent, then disappears. You can hear a slight high-pitched noise after, which slowed down is the beginning of a voice line of heavy screaming. As the video comes to black, it goes from a slight static to a much heavier and louder sound. You also may have noticed a very small detail, which is his white and black dot over the heavy's head, which seems to be moving right and left. Overall, there's not enough information to properly tell anything from this interaction, besides the fact we're in it for the long haul now. The next video on the channel is labeled Spy is Sandwich, uploaded on November 21st, 2019. The description reading, Spy is Sandwich. The format in this video is the same as the last one. I'll be playing it here, it's also a very short clip.
Deposito la llamaron. Sandwich. How could this happen?
As you just saw, this is where things get weird. From the beginning, you may also be able to tell the audio is messed up. The game seems to be muffled, while you can hear what seems to be a computer running in the background. Heavy's voice also has an audible reverb on it, passing through the hall to the sandwich. With everything being relatively the same until Heavy reaches for the sandwich, We get a glimpse of the spy revealing himself, pounding on the camera until he is dragged by the fizz gun and the video cuts. Though maybe meant to just be creepy, this video gives a really good intro to kickstart possible theories surrounding the channel. Remember how I mentioned the muffling earlier? Well, after this video, I believe things start to make sense. Imagine if you were watching someone through some glass and they tried speaking to you. The reality is that you couldn't hear them very well. Even if they were loud, they would be muffled. It should also be noted that the video is in a 4:3 aspect ratio. You're probably asking how that ties into the discussion, and I believe the reality is that we're watching this animation through the screen of the creator on his computer. As we listen closely, it makes sense hearing the computer fan, the muffling of the audio, and the aspect ratio of the screen, almost as if it's designed to give us the feeling of being an outsider to this ARG. Though I digress. You may have also noticed the Heavy's head turning without any player interaction in the background, as if he couldn't bear to see the escape attempt. The next video is titled Garry's Mod Ragdoll Walker Tutorial, posted on October 11, 2020. Its description reading, Garry's Mod Ragdoll Walker Tutorial. This is a much longer video than the shorter clips we saw earlier. I'll play it here for you to see.
Each and every one of you will be sent home to your mama in a box. Last one alive, lock the door. Pain is weakness leaving the body.
Wow, a lot to take in. We'll start with the soldier clip shown earlier. There's not a lot of interesting things here on the surface, but pay attention to the voice clip set here.
Each and every one of you will be sent home to your mama in a box. Last one alive, lock the door. Pain is weakness leaving the body.
Help. If it wasn't obvious already, the ragdolls stuck here aren't very happy to be in the presence of the creator, going to their own extreme ends to warn the viewers. We can see the fear of the soldier spike when Gunslinger brings out the removal tool on the tool gun, pointing it at the soldier's face for not moving. Very eerie stuff. Moving on to the spy section of the video, I noticed a few things. One of those being, while setting up the mechanism for the ragdoll walker, we see Spy in the background running towards the end of the map. He disappears for a few seconds while Gunslinger Pro explains how the walker will work. We're also able to see that Gunslinger Pro calls the ragdoll them instead of it, an acknowledgement that they aren't just an object, displaying the creator is self-aware to a degree. He does this again by saying they. Another small detail is this red ragdoll here, presumably the engineer. It also looks like something is sticking out of the ragdoll. In the last section of the video, as we saw earlier, Spy runs off from the engineer and the creator catches up to stop it after trailing off. This video, like the ones before it, cuts, but instead of the normal long static, it's very short and ends abruptly. The channel comes to a pretty steep stop after these few videos, but it's expected seeing there's only 6 on the channel. The next video on the channel is titled Half-Life 2 2010 1015 14 49 44 34, uploaded on October 14th 2020. There's no description on this one. This is another long one, so I'll play it now. I would be lying if I said this didn't make me feel disturbed. Unlike most ARGs, this is probably one of the creepiest I've encountered, extremely unsettling. The premise we encounter is that the person in this headcrab-like state is the spy. We can assume this is some sort of punishment after the spy is shown in multiple videos breaking what seems to be the rules of the creator. From banging on the camera to running away, there's no doubt that this is the outcome. Because the video is so dark, it's hard to make out the things we can actually see. I find it interesting that the spy bangs his head on the mirror, whether out of disgust from his own image or because he knew of an exit. After finding a hidden tunnel and seeing Gunslinger Pro creating a scene with the heavy medic holding balloons, the spy is shoved back into the room in a haste, almost as if to hide it from the other ragdolls. I find it interesting that the stereotype of the dark room is that as players, we're all afraid of it. It's a room that belongs to the unknown, but Gunslinger Pro flips this expectation, and instead shows that the NPCs are afraid of the dark room, where he turned the spy into what we saw earlier. This video makes us genuinely scared of the player for once, instead of the unknown figure watching us as done in many other ARGs. This one is uniquely crafted, with the fear being us, the player. Nearing the end of this channel, the next video coming up is titled Sniper is Sentry, the description reading Sniper is Sentry, uploaded on the 20th of February 2021. This one is pretty short.
The sniper is uploaded! Sentry!
To an outsider, this video is relatively normal for GMOD animations, but given what we saw before, we can only assume the worst for what the player did to the sniper and what is happening in the scene. The arms look like they're torn off, and the body badly disfigured into the shape of a sentry. We can only assume the engineer shown here is a personification of what the player sees himself as, a gunslinger engineer. The only character other than the engineer is the demo man we see at the start. Notice his eyes shaking and dilating, almost as if he's scared of the situation. Other than all of this, there's one last video on the channel, Garry's Mod Ultimate Sled Tutorial, a video made on May 2nd, 2021. The description reading, Garry's Mod Ultimate Sled Tutorial. The total length is 3 minutes. I'll play it now.
engineer is tried to thief! Yes, you are barbar good friend.
A very interesting last video. Focusing on the NPCs in the background, there seems to be not much to note or talk about. The video really only gets moving a few minutes in. One of the things I first noted is the engineer ragdoll disappears completely upon Gunslinger Pro looking back towards the top of the hill. I assume this is because by the ragdoll disappearing after standing near the sled, when Gunslinger enters a few seconds later, is to further the fact that he sees himself as the ragdoll sitting in the sled, to display a persona of himself as the engineer. Another thing is a split-second frame showing the Heavy's eyes darted off to the side before becoming focused forward, almost as if aware that he would be punished if he acted out of line. The video seems pretty normal, with some of the sleds crashing off on the side, until we get to the end. As a display of camaraderie, presumably, the Heavy starts to talk, an attempt trying to please the creator by congratulating him on the success of the sled race. The creator seems to not be very fazed by this, staring, until the Heavy says he is a good friend and noticeably backs up, probably nervous, before being grabbed at the throat by the fizz gun, with a choking sound heard before being thrown. The video goes to purple and ends with the usual static. All of this definitely makes you able to empathize with the conditions of the ragdolls and the fear being built up from this series. To conclude Gunslinger 2009, I'm not sure how to put my own words into it. Compared to the much larger series of ClassicGMVideos, in only 6 clips, a whole story was built up around the premise of these sentient ragdolls. Seeing the creator is still uploading, I'll be visiting it again if they ever make anything new. The last upload was only 2 months ago anyway. As for possible theories, I'm still not too sure about that either. It's hard to put together a story if the story isn't exactly complete yet. From how I see it, I like to believe the creator thinks of himself as the hero in his own story, similar to the character Handsome Jack from Borderlands. From these videos and from that of Borderlands, we're given a person whose motive stems in their ego and their personality. Gunslinger's personality just happens to be the engineer, something pretty much latched onto. I've also noticed the lack of narration from the creator, which isolates you more from empathizing with him as a person, helping to make Gunslinger look even more disturbed as you watch more of the series. Despite there being obvious problems with what he's doing, Gunslinger is aware of it and chooses to ignore it anyway. Choosing to ignore the ragdolls asking for help, deciding to commit acts of mutilation against anyone who disobeys him, and forcing the ragdolls to follow anything he wants. It makes you wonder the age of Gunslinger, seeing such a horrific string of events. Regardless, this is an ARG that is pretty well crafted and way up there in quality compared to some of the other titles I've seen. Though, there is another channel, one focused on the same aspect of Team Fortress, though a tad more recent. BadwaterVideos 2009. BadwaterVideos is a channel created on May 13th, 2021. The description of the channel being, I make GMOD videos, Badwater is my favorite map. Though explored somewhat recently, I first was introduced to this channel about 1 to 2 months ago by Richter Overtime, except he was waiting for the channel to release more videos before doing a full explanation on it to give it some time. At 19.3k subscribers, you can already see this channel has gained some traction and an audience. Diving into the videos, we find one labeled TF2 Sawmill Gameplay, uploaded May 13th, 2021, the same day the channel was made. The description reads, Half-Life 2, 2009, 08, 15, 13, 05, 1207.avi, similar to the title of Gunslinger Spy Headcrab video. The video plays out in the following. Upon discovering a player making a scene of the Heavy on a couch and presuming we're seeing through the eyes of a ragdoll, we're shown an attempt to run, but the scout is grabbed anyway, trying to flee. We cut to black and the video ends. Similar to Gunslinger, the video is shown to have very low quality, although there is no jittering and the video seems a lot more clear. It still isn't quite perfect. Overall, it's a pretty simple first video preparing you for what's coming next and what should be expected. The next video on the channel is labeled The Broken TV, uploaded May 14th, 2021. The description reads, Heavy's TV is broken. Luckily, a friend comes to help. It plays out in the following.
Oh, it is sad day. Very bad. Oh!
Hey! Woo!
It's not possible.
Ah!
Unfortunately, I didn't notice much during the video. The only things I picked up here is that this is the original scene from the last video with Scout not included. The last noticeable detail is how the Scout's hand slowly drifts here, which could be a sign of gaining control, maybe because the creator is not around during the end shot. Regardless, still not much to go off of. Concluding that video, we arrived to another short clip, this one being named Half-Life 2 2009-08-15-1817-36-64.avi. There is no description, I'll play it now. This video brings a very interesting sense of eeriness. We're looking through the Scout's eyes once again, sat upon the couch. We're given a view of the area surrounding us, and after attempting to move the arm, we're able to look at the Heavy's face. He's no longer smiling and frowning heavily towards the viewer, shaking his head as if to notion him to stop moving to keep both of them safe from removal, to avoid punishment from the player. Regardless, it seems that the Heavy is caught and is promptly removed, before the player then heads towards the Scout, and the video glitches out, presumably what the ragdoll experiences during deletion. Pretty scary stuff. Next on our list, now being halfway through, we arrive to a video titled Melon Man to the Rescue. The description reads, The engineer is in some big trouble, but a new friend comes to save the day. It plays out as follows.
Yes! Do it!
I've locked the door! Eat my duck!
Oh, that's charge!
Good night, Irene.
Oh! No! No!
I don't think they saw that one coming. That there was a fine piece of work.
Overall, an actually pretty comedic video until we arrive at the handshake. After the explosion, it seems we can notice the body of the Blue Scout crawling on the tracks towards to what they probably deemed as safety, until the creator runs towards the ragdoll, in which we can only assume it was for deletion. Cutting to black and the video ends. This won't be the end of the exploration of Melon Man on the channel, as we'll soon see. Next we arrive at Melon Man vs. The Teeth and Ear, a video uploaded on May 31st, 2021. The description reading, Melon Man encounters a new rival. It plays out in the following.
Job well done. What? Oh. I need some doggone help. What? Ah! Bloody hell! Ha! Hey! Ah! No! Stop! Oh! Ah! Creep! Ha! Oh, hell. Oh, I'm gonna beat you so hard you'll have a twitch.
This video I find particularly interesting as it displays the creator is fully aware that the ragdolls are sentient. There's not much to note until later in the video when we arrive at Melon Man coming to save the day. In a move to save the engineer from exploding, he punches the teeth in ear instead of using any explosions. While coming down to punch him, Melon Man looks to our right, in which we see a tool gun, certifying that he's made eye contact with the player presumably holding out the removal tool as a threat. This look towards the player almost seems like a reassurance look, silently asking if he has to punch the teeth in ear, as a possible request of mercy. Knowing what will happen if he doesn't, we see he begins punching him with hesitation until what looks like death. In a look of regret, Melon Man seems to be shaking his head and looking at the player, jittering. I believe mere moments after this shot, the player whipped out his tool gun and was going to delete everything in the scene. This is another thing we saw as the scout was about to be deleted and mass distortion occurred. The video then cuts to black. Something I also noted right away is the distinction between Gunslinger and BadwaterVideos. In Gunslinger's videos, even the slightest movement of a ragdoll would be cause for deletion. Gunslinger's way of playing with the ragdolls seems more like that of a child with short temperament. Compared to Badwater, the creator looks fully aware of their sentience, and instead of immediately threatening them and torturing them, he uses their existence as a bargaining chip, making him seem more mature, but also much more morbid and cruel. At this point, he isn't even trying to hide it. The next video we arrive at is called Passage, uploaded on June 9th, 2021. The description being Half-Life 2 2009-08-27 16-23-53-15.avi. Here are the contents of the video. Following up from the other videos, we are viewing through the scout once again, waking up in a predetermined area of props. Made by the creator or just randomly generated, the scout appears on a bench next to a knocked out sniper with a radio constantly playing a sequence of numbers. This TTS is actually spelling "You must hide" over and over again. This was pointed out by Richter Overtime in the comments. As this chain of numbers repeat, we see Scout get up to walk around almost like he's dazed. After approaching the door shown in the video, the radio starts to speak even faster, 828578, translated to "run." I assume this transmission started to occur once the creator got closer to the setup, and out of urgency, it played the following message. Once the passage is entered, we see the door close and the scout falls into this white abyss, then the video glitches out. One of the questions I saw asked is, where does this passage go? And I might actually have an answer for that. The only white room I'd be able to recognize like that is from the map GM Construct. A default, fully white, full bright room. It could be possible the door was a passage to a different map to escape where the player currently is. And if this is right, the scout would now be in the map GM Construct. Though there's not enough evidence to support this, I think of it as a plausible theory. Moving on, we're near the end of this channel, with the next video being labeled Dr. Metalhead Rises, uploaded on July 9th, 2021. The description reads, in the aftermath of Milliman's intervention, a new villain devises a plan to defeat Milliman forever. The contents are shown here.
I am prepared to do whatever it takes. Mach schnell! Prepare for your examination.
There's actually not a whole lot that goes on in this video, besides expanding the plot for Dr. Metalhead vs. Milliman, which in all seriousness seems like a pretty hyped series. If you have a good memory and are quick to notice details, you might notice the soldier lying on the ground is from the first Milliman series. When the group is blown up, the soldier's corpse in the previous video lands in this location. I find this a very neat attention to detail for continuing the story. The walking animation on the engineer is also the exact same one Gunslinger used in his tutorial video, if you notice that here. We're also able to see the addition of a custom map. Overall, the effort put into this is pretty amazing. It'll be great to see more in the future. The last video on the channel was titled Milliman Update Q&A Announcement, uploaded July 29, 2021. The description reads, I'm sorry for this delay. A new episode of Milliman will be created soon. I will answer questions in 2 weeks. Thank you for 10,000 subscribers. It plays out in the following. Overall, pretty normal with some glitches now and then, though we're shown a screenshot displaying BadwaterVideos 2009 first joining and 2009. If this is the same for Gunslinger, it's to be assumed that they both joined the platform the exact same year, together. One of the things that do put me off about this video is how modern the text looks. I'm not sure why, but the font feels very modern compared to how the setting is shown throughout the series. But that's just a personal nitpick. Otherwise, this is where the channel leaves us. The last real date we're given that would somewhat explain the timeline of the videos is from Passage. Passage tells us in the description it's an upload from 2009 on August 27th. If we assume the latest video is a re-upload and was made a month later, we can safely say it was made around September, but it's hard to say if the creator is re-uploading or simply stuck in the past. Either could be completely possible. If this Q&A really does occur, that would mean the player behind this channel is actively responding with people from 2021 and 2009, which could possibly open up the discussion of time travel within this arc. Though, I'm still not sure how sensible that is, as it's still just a theory, which I thought might have been fun to think about. Correlating with what I said earlier about the engineer having the same walk cycle that Gunslinger showed us, it's also shown that Badwater and Gunslinger have the exact same model in Fizzgun. I wonder why this is. Whether or not they're maybe the same person, we're also shown a love of Team Fortress in both of them and their cruel nature to the ragdolls in their game, as well as joining the same year. There's a lot of things to nitpick here about them, though, I don't know. Besides all that, there's no strong argument to say they're the same yet, unless something in the future comes out. Finishing this video off, I want to bring you all back to our good friend ClassicGMVideos, in which I talked about in my GM ARG video shown here. Recently, he's made 2 updates on the channel, which I thought might be fun to explore with all of you. So with that being said, let's see what's been added.
On to the weather now, and with tonight's regional forecast, here's like Cale. Hello, Como giving us one last swan song here in the south with hot temperatures tomorrow. A mild night tonight as well, 14 or 15 in the countryside.
To anyone that hasn't watched my previous video, they're probably confused about what we see here, but these are both the player models for Bob and Bill, and presumably, this is the teaser of a new episode. Personally, I've missed the adventures of Bob and Bill. They were fun to cover. Besides that, we're shown the mic from his computer is on, as ClassicGMVideos presumably leaves his room with the TV on before static takes over and the video shuts off. He could have also set up Bob and Bill to watch the dark room before he left, out of fear. With the last update on this channel, we're given a more comedic video titled G-Man Uses the Computer, the description reading, G-Man Computer2.wmv, description, G-Man has some troubles using his computer and gets mad. Here are the contents. Pretty lighthearted video from the usual stuff we get from ClassicGM, though I'm not complaining, it's still welcome nonetheless. On that note, leaving this channel once again with uncertainty to the next upload, I actually forgot to mention something, which requires us going back to Badwater once again. While editing the video, it appears Badwater uploaded very recently, so I plan to cover that video here, right before I conclude. The video being referenced is named Questions and Answers, an actual response to the Q&A we were promised, uploaded July 31st, 2021. The description reading, due to receiving over 4,000 comments within 2 days of uploading the Q&A announcement, I very quickly had enough questions to answer. I'm working hard on new videos that will come out soon. Thank you for 17,000 subscribers. I'll play it now. This was a lot more information than what I expected in terms of the insight given by Badwater. I'll go over it one by one. One is the mention of the cough maps, specifically Nucleus. What we're told is that it was added fairly recently, and this much adds up to be true, seeing the map was added into the game on August 13th, 2009. This is also around the exact same time Passage was recorded, with it being on August 27th. We're given a list of Badwater's favorite games, which also adds up for the time period. Badwater tells us here that the inspiration for the videos is a series called the GMOD Idiot Box, a multi-part series of comedic GMOD videos that ran from 2008 to 2015. Overall, nothing out of the ordinary. Now, this next question is really interesting, being asked, has he heard of Gunslinger Pro 2009? We're told he has no idea who this person is, despite their similarities, putting one theory to rest that they could be the same person. I find this oddly fascinating, as in a Q&A, a question like this would often be ignored to usually keep the mystery. It makes you wonder if this is a bold-faced lie or really the truth. The rest of the Q&A just goes over Melon Man lore, but as a final question, it's asked, what technical difficulties canceled the future release of a Melon Man episode? The response being, failure. We see a cybernetic version of the soldier with its legs charred and blood everywhere before being deleted. And this concludes Badwater. And it was quite a trip. I'm really glad to have revisited this topic again. as I believe it's a goldmine of unexplored creativity with unlimited options for what you want to do. I know I'll definitely make another video on these two in the future if I see more content, and maybe of another channel. I've never seen an idea quite like this before, and the sentient ragdoll topic is something I would have never expected from an ARG. But I seriously hope these two still continue, and if they're the same person, I hope they still continue on Badwater. I would really appreciate if you went to these two channels to show your support instead of just using this video, as they deserve all the credit for making such an interesting story. If you think I missed anything or have possible theories, please let me know in the comments, as I would love to read them. I also want to let everyone know I've recently made a Discord, so if you want to join, the link is on screen. It'll also be in the description. Hope to see you there, and I think that concludes this video. So thank you for watching, as always. Like it if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, and I'm out. Peace.